What is up, everyone? For those of you who do not know me, my name is Aquarius. Welcome to this is all going to be post-com, an NCP recap of, this first video is going to be of our pool games, and then our next video is going to be of the bracket games. So I'm going to explain what that means in a second, but first I just want to give some quick shoutouts. First is to John Jr. He runs the NCP. He, I guess, got me into this tournament. We've had some great conversations, and he's honestly a great guy. We have a ton of similar views and opinions and goals toward league format, and I just respect the hell out of him for it. So yeah, he's a fantastic YouTuber, definitely a much more popular YouTuber than I will ever be. So yeah, he's fantastic. He's a great guy, and just nothing but the nicest things for him. Second shout out is to Zombie. He's the one who showed me this tournament, told me I should be a part of it, and I really enjoyed the tournament. So got to give a thank you to him. Other thank you I want to give is to just any one of my friends who joined the tournament. If I asked them to, or just they did it on their own accord. Blind Messiah, the one guy, Galadite74. Steven Thurston was signed up for it regardless, but he's amazing, such a nice guy. I'm probably forgetting a bunch of other people. I mean, just Kurt, yeah. Oh, I'm gonna totally forget someone, and I'm gonna be such a dick for it. Socrates, oh my god, Socrates is the greatest. Yes, Socrates, massive shout out to Socrates. He joined it, and we definitely shared some awesome back and forth during the tournament, helping each other out and building and things like that. Special shout out though, like I said, to Blind Messiah and the one guy, Elliot and Sean, for not only being a part of the tournament, but also we sort of all planned our drafts together. So yeah, super awesome, super cool tournament hosted by the NCP that is just super cool. So I'm going to get into the draft and explain sort of what the tournament format is like. But yeah, I have, forgive me, I am relatively sick right now, which is how I'm finding the time to do this. But yeah, I might not sound super great, but it is what it is. So I'm going to go into the draft that I drafted, and it's definitely a weird draft for a tournament. I should preface this by saying I've never been a part of a tournament before, a draft league tournament, despite my like 2+ years in draft format. Probably more than 2+ years. Started in 2015. Yeah, I'm old. Okay. Anyway, yeah. So this is the team I drafted. I was the wheel pick. They were drafting pods of 8, so they split all the 64 participants up into different groups. And yeah, then they made us draft. So a lot of people were drafting things like Zygarde, Tapu Koko, Mega Mawile was allowed, Lando. I just didn't want to be boring. I didn't want my team to look like everyone else's, because everyone was drafting very similar teams, and you'd essentially have 8 Koko teams, 8 Celesteela teams. I wanted my team to be unique, and I wanted to be something that every time my opponent comes to see my team, it would be something they haven't faced before. They'd be sort of inexperienced at facing the combination of mons that I have, especially in tournament format. So it's just, I want a unique team that no one else in the league was going to draft, not only just for strategic sake, but also just because I think it would be more fun. I didn't want to have a bunch of Koko v Koko battles or any Celesteela versus Celesteela battles. I didn't want any of that. So I just figured it would be the most fun, and I also thought it would be challenging to some extent. I wanted to intentionally limit myself to not draft a single Pokemon above 13 points, which is extremely difficult in a tournament that maxes out at 18 points. So you can see the team I have there, with some notes on the right side. I picked up Hydreigon, Scolipede, Metagross, Serena, Primarina, Nidoking, Megamanectric, and Talonflame. The other great thing about this is that all 8 of these are equal level threats, which is something very unique. In many instances, you saw people get amazing top 4 picks, and then their last 2 picks would be like 2 Little Cup Mons even, or very, very weak PU Pokemon or something like that. So just the ability to have a team that is equally threatening across the board especially when I'm up against one of those teams that just has 6 mons and 2 throwaway mons. It puts me in a nice 8v6 situation that I ultimately think gives me the leg up. So I hope a lot of other people try this way of drafting in terms of not trying to like make your draft too top heavy and instead sort of spread it out. I definitely really enjoy doing it this way, and it's something that I found a lot of success in PIBA, which I'm currently 7-0 in. So definitely really, really cool. But yeah, this is the team. Has a really, really nice, I'm not one for like type cores, but has a nice Fire, Water, Grass core in Talonflame, Primarina, Serena. Has good Dragon Fairy Steel core in Primarina, Hydreigon, and Metagross. Has 2 Toxic Spike users. Has 1 Spikes user. Has, I think, 3 Rock Setters. No, just 2 Rock Setters, Nidoking and Metagross. Some good priority with Metagross and Talonflame, and even Sucker Punch Nidoking. Great speed with Mega Manectric and Talonflame, and a Scolipede, obviously. And then, yeah, I just think it's great. Good hazard clearing with Hydreigon and Serena. And I guess Talonflame if you want. I gave Z to Scolipede because it's obviously really good on a set, and then Talonflame since Talonflame is my lowest tier pick, and it works pretty well with a Z, with Gale Wings Z move first turn. Just figured it would be pretty useful. And then Mega Manectric is Mega first turn, which is obviously fine. So that's the team. I just really liked it. I thought it was cool. Let me know what you think of it. But anyway, let's go into the games, shall we? I guess I should explain how it worked. So you were put into battle pods that were separate from your draft pods. They were randomized completely separately. And essentially what happened was they would be randomized completely separately, and as such, you would be put into groups of 4. And when you were put into groups of 4, you had to fight the other 3 people in your group, and then if you come out with the top 2 or the top 50% or however you want to say it, top cut, whatever, which would essentially be going either 3-0 or 2-1 unless there's some weird circumstance in your pool where like everyone loses a game and everyone wins a game. It would essentially mean go positive. So go either 2-1 or 3-0. Although you want to go 3-0 because you'll get seeded higher in the bracket. So if you go 3-0, you'll get, you'll be like first or second or somewhere like in top 10 seeds rather than like, 15 through 32. So that was something that I was hoping to get, those top 10 seeds. That was a goal I was sort of reaching for, but honestly the bigger goal was just make brackets, and we'll see if we can do that. But yeah, our first opponent was George, aka the Tynamo Dresden is the name of his team name. And yeah, he had a really scary team. In my opinion, this was the scariest team in the entire draft. This is the scariest draft that was in my battle pool, I should say. The mons that he didn't bring that you don't see on the other side are Jirachi, which is scary, and Talonflame. He had a Talonflame of his own. So I was really scared of Mega Alakazam. That's a Mega Alakazam there. Partially because it can trace my speed boost, benefit from sheer force, get intimidates from Manectric, even things along the lines of Clear Body. I mean, Clear Body wasn't gonna matter. I don't know what I'm saying, but like Levitate, for example, Levitate, things like that. I don't know. It was scary, and he just Trace does a good amount on my team. I mean, most specifically Speed Boost and Sheer Force were the scariest things. One thing that I didn't expect to see was Quillfish, and my Scolipede set reflects that. I only brought Dual Stab for the Quillfish. I originally had Earthquake, but someone told me to take it off, and really upset that I took it off, but we'll be able to manage. And things like a Alolan Persian, Piloswine, definitely very scary, and then Curon Black, big monster that I just don't know if I exactly have the immediate power to take it down. So we'll have to see what happens. I'm going to explain what I brought before I get into the replay. I have my little notes here. Bear in mind, I played this game April 7, 2019. So actually, I believe today is, literally over a month ago. I played this game. So forgive my commentary if it's a little bit rusty, but yeah. I brought a Scarf Hydreigon with Dual Stab, U-Turn, and Iron Tail for the Florges. I brought a Banded Serena. I believe it had Rapid Spin, U-Turn, Power Whip, Knockoff, Play Rough. No, High Jump Kick. It had 4 moves that mattered. I don't know. I believe it had U-Turn, Power Whip, High Jump Kick. Yeah, U-Turn, Power Whip, High Jump Kick, Knockoff, or something along those lines. Yeah, Knockoff because I would have had to hit Jirachi. And then Nidoking. Nidoking was Life Orb. It was max HP. I figured that he wouldn't expect me to bring max speed, so I brought max HP to take a bunch of hits better. I actually lived 1 hit from Alakazam, which was cool. And then I brought Rocks on it, Dual Stab, and Focus Blast for the both the Piloswine, the Alolan Persian, and the Kyurem, 3 mons that were all fighting weak that, you know, could have easily, decently switched into my, it was his best switch into my Dual Stab, not to say that they're great. The next thing I brought was Mega Manectric. It's just a generic set, but instead of HP Ice, I brought Toxic, so it was Volt Switch, Thunderbolt, Overheat, and Toxic. I'm usually bringing Flamethrower on Mega Manectric sets, but Overheat just calced better this time around. Then Weakness Policy Metagross was my win con. It was Meteor Mash, Rock Slide, and Earthquake. Meteor Mash, Earthquake, Rock Slide. That's what it was. And that just hit his entire team super effectively outside of Alakazam, which was going to die to a Meteor Mash anyway, and outside of Persian, which would have ideally been chipped for Metagross to sweep. And then Scolipede is Dual Stab with Protect and Swords Dance, Savage Spin Out, the Z move, just for whoever needs it, whenever I need to use it. So let's go into the game. I put it on slow just to explain my stuff. He leads Kyurem. Now here, I should mention, I didn't know who George was before I played this game. And 5 minutes before I played, I was told George has just won this prestigious league. I don't know, it's probably not prestigious, that's probably, but like, he just won a league, okay? He won a league against Galadite, who I played earlier on my channel in PEBA, really great player. And yeah, he won this league and like blew them out of the water. Basically what I'm saying is, like, I heard that he was like a fantastic player before the game, and for some reason this scared the shit out of me. It shouldn't scare the shit out of me because I know that I can stand up to all these players, but it still scared me. So my mindset was like, maybe since he's such a good player, he's gonna, you know, make some he's gonna make some whack prediction and stay in with Kyurem turn 1. And he's going to stay in with Kyurem turn 1, and it's going to be this amazing prediction that's crazy. And I don't know why I thought he'd do that, for whatever reason. But he makes the smart play and goes into Florges, and I make the dumb play and just go for a Draco, expecting him to stay in. This is a play I would never normally make in any situation where I'm a rational player. But for some reason I was just really worried, and I don't know why, and I need to not think like that. But that turn 1 did not work out well, is basically what I'm trying to say. So I have to spend these next few turns trying to recover. I go into Nidoking. He goes back into Alakazam, making a very smart double, and I have to go back into my Hydreigon, predict him to go for a Psychic move. I can't predict him to do anything else. Thankfully, I am right, and I have gained my momentum back after my massive turn 1 misplay. So he does have Protect, which is really, really interesting, but really smart, because since this switch in pretty much confirms I'm Scarf, he can see that I lock myself into U-turn, stay in, take that relatively well. I learned that he's relatively defensive, and I can go into my Banded Serena. Now this worries me just a little bit, but I stay in because he is Psyshock, and I go for a U-turn here. Because I know that I can take a Psyshock. So I go for a U-turn, go back to Hydreigon, and here I think to myself, George is a good player. Maybe he's going to call out me, U-turning this time, expecting him to go into Florges, and he'll stay in with freaking Kieran Black again, and that'll be his big play. So I'm going to predict his big play and make the same stupid decision I made on turn 1 and do it fucking again. So I'm insane and stupid and have completely lost myself momentum. He reveals Psychic, which is smart because I have 2 poison mons, but look, I got to gain this momentum back, and I have to do it in some way possible, but I think that's going to start by me setting up my rocks. Now here, I make a really, really interesting play. I predict him to think that foul play will kill, because in a world where Nidoking isn't max HP, then foul play definitely does kill, always, all the time. So, you know, a smart player would switch out because they want to perceive their Nidoking, but I'm max HP Nidoking, so I figure to myself, he's probably just going to parting shot because he thinks I'm going to switch out, and he, even if I were to live like his foul play, he wouldn't want to take an Earth Power, so parting shot makes sense. So I am going to not go for Focus Blast. I'm going to go for either Sludge Wave or Earth Power. Let's go here. Let's find out. But the point is I predict him a parting shot, and he switches out. And I go for a stab move rather than a Focus Blast here, and then, yeah, Sludge Wave. Now, I do this for a reason, and that's because I was going to click Focus Blast, but if he went into... if I missed, first of all, that would suck. But also, no matter what he goes into, if he goes into Kyurem on that Sludge Wave, it might make him think that I'm not Focus Blast. And if he goes into Kyurem, it also means that he is Roost, because he wouldn't just sack his Kyurem like that, especially when it just dies to rocks. It would have to mean it has to have Roost. So I'm going to call him out having Roost here and go for the Focus Blast and pray that I land. Thankfully, I do. So it puts me in a really, really nice position here to land the Focus Blast. I'm actually up 6-5 after that horrendous first few setup turns, so works out pretty nicely. But unfortunately, I do have to let Nidoking go down here, just the way it is. But it ends up being okay, because I can go right back into my Hydreigon. I don't really care if he has Protect, because I can just go for a U-turn again. It doesn't really bother me at all. You know, it's not like there's anything he can switch into that, like, preserves the momentum at all, or for whatever reason. So, Persian is going to take some damage. Now, I need this Persian shipped. Because this Persian is literally the only thing right now that's standing in the way of Metagross just sweeping his team. Like, seriously, get to... If I need to take an Earthquake from Piloswine, get my +2, and knock it out with Meteor Mash, I just kill everything else with a move, as long as this Persian is shipped. So I make the decision, I need to stay in here, I need to go for U-turn. I might have actually gone for High Jump Kick, thinking about it more, because, yeah, I definitely went for High Jump Kick. I need to go for High Jump Kick to either kill this Persian or get it in range of dying to rocks, so that Metagross can in no way be stopped by this thing. So I take a foul play with my spread, I take a foul play no matter what, and I can High Jump Kick and kill this Persian, but he gets a crit. So it puts me in a situation where now I have to figure out alternative ways to kill this Persian. So my mind says, all right, let's go into Scolipede. Let's do Scolipede for this, and let's try and see if he stays in, takes a hit or whatever. He doesn't. He chooses not to. I think in hindsight, the better play might have been to go into Manectric and Overheat, but I still think that would have lost me momentum to some extent. And Manectric, I had to bring in. He's very smart in not bringing out the Persian, and I feel the game slipping away from me at this point. That crit was a little bit unfortunate. Obviously, I'm not going to say it was game determining because it was at the middle of the game, but I do think that I would have had a much easier end game, and would have been able to go off with Metagross had I been able to bring the Persian either down really low or, you know, kill it. So I do call, sorry, I guess I should go back here. But yeah, I go into Manectric as he goes into the Piloswine. I go for Overheat. It wasn't Thick Fat, which is actually kind of crazy that I took that and wasn't Thick Fat, but apparently he said he wasn't Thick Fat, but it doesn't really matter because Toxic would have taken it out anyway. I realize that he's definitely going to Ice Shard this last turn, and I don't want my Manectric to be in range of dying to rocks, so I call out that play and switch in my Hydreigon. Not that it matters that much, because he's just going to go into Florges. And here I have no choice. I have no switch into Florges. That isn't my Metagross. I could go Scolipede, but I know he has Psychic, and it's not going to be a good time. So I do have to go in my Metagross here, and basically all I have to do at this point is... Maybe it was a bad play. Maybe I should have gone into Scolipede, but also, like, I don't know. It's iffy because Qwilfish wasn't taking anything. Like, Qwilfish was such an easy switch in, so... But I do go into my Metagross, and I can just go for an Agility here, and I just have to hope and pray that Foul Play doesn't kill me, or that I, like, crit my Meteor Mash or something like that. Doesn't work out, unfortunate, and he does go for a Foul Play and take me out. So that endgame was probably pretty shit by me. I was a little bit shook from the crit earlier, but is what it is. And I actually think at this point in the game, we're good, totally. Like, Scolipede cleans up. Like, even if Qwilfish comes in and intimidates me, after a Swords Dance, Z-Bug is taking it out. Like, I think we got this. And he reveals the Z Parting Shot. Completely forgot that was a move. Had no idea. My Persian doesn't Z in Piba, so I just didn't even think about it. And he ends up coming in with Qwilfish, canceling out my Swords Dance, and healing all the way back up. And this is going to put me in a very scary position where I need to Swords Dance again as he Waterfalls. Now here is an incredibly important play. I could Z-move here and just hope he stays in, because a +2 Z-move has a chance to KO this Qwilfish, I believe. So it's definitely something that I could do. I'm definitely thinking about it a lot. A +2 Savage Spin Out has a chance to KO my... Or sorry, it doesn't have a chance to KO the Qwilfish, but it'll put it really, really low. Whereas Swords Dancing again, predicting something else to come in and take the Z-move hit, is another play. So I essentially have two options. I could Swords Dance again, and if I fail to Swords Dance, I'll just die from the Qwilfish. Or I could just Z-move here, go for a differential, and be fine. I knew he had to fear the Z-Ground, because I had Z-Ground on the set before I made it. I just got scared. I don't know what happened. I just got nervous, and I Z-bugged, knowing that he was going to switch out and scout for it. I knew perfectly that he was going to do that, and yet I still did it. Really upset that that happened, but it's something I just have to learn, because I was worried. I was literally worried that, like, people would see, like, me, like, make a Swords Dance play and then him stay in and kill me, and then people would, like, judge me. But, like, these are my games. Like, that's stupid. Like, no one should like, judging is such an arbitrary, stupid thing to fear. So I don't know. I played the Scolipede badly. I knew he was going to switch out, and I just flubbed it. So apologies for the lag. Here I'm going to go into my Hydreigon. My best hope in this situation is that he stays in with Qwilfish and just takes the Dark Pulse and dies, but he's very smart to preserve it. And I have to sack my Manectric here. Now I only have one choice, and that's to lock myself in Iron Tail. In a world in which I get a high roll and kill this Florges, and I crit the Qwilfish, I can win. I go for an Iron Tail, I don't get the roll, so I think I'm just going to lose 3-0 here. But he actually Synthesises. And this was really weird to me. I was like, shit, I might actually have a chance. All I gotta do is crit this Qwilfish. So he goes into the Alakazam, sacks the Alakazam, and at this point, all I need is a Qwilfish crit to win. I got crit by the Persian. Maybe I can, you know, get a crit Iron Tail here, be good. I miss. So I'm a little bit screwed. The poison here doesn't matter because you could just Aqua Jet the next turn. But that's a good game to George. Round 1 of the NCP, we lose. So that's not good, especially when I was trying to be top 10 in the bracket. Didn't work out. Really, really unfortunate. So George takes a win 2-0 over us. Really, really sad, but this means a few things. This means not only do we have to win our next 2 games in order to qualify for brackets, which is scary, but we also have to get, like, high differential if we want to, like, you know, be in a decent spot in brackets, have a decent seeding. So my next, you know, week and a half that was allocated to playing these games, I guess I shouldn't say week and a half. It was maybe like these next few days. I think it was like a sequence of maybe 4 or 5 days. Was really dedicated to just destroying these last few teams. I really wanted to get wins, and I wanted to get high differential wins. If I wanted to be successful in this tournament, that was a must. So our next opponent is... It's loading. GreninjaPlayz. So GreninjaPlayz had a really stally team. The 2 mons that he left behind were Coffee Rodriguez and Leafeon. He had Leafeon for the Sun situation with Torkoal. But yeah, I prepped really hard for this game, and I'll tell you what I brought. I brought Black Glasses Hydra with Flash Cannon, Dark Pulse, and Defog and Roost. So it was cool to bring Hydra again as a defensive defogger. Scolipede was Endeavor for the Celesteela with Toxic Spikes, Mega Horn, and Superpower. Metagross was a Shuka-Berry variant for the Zygarde with Thunder Punch, Meteor Mash, Toxic, and Stealth Rocks. Talonflame was Taunt, Will-O-Wisp, Roost, and Acrobatics with no item. Primarina was Choice Specs. It had Moonblast, Hydro Pump, probably had Perish Song is something I normally put on it, and then I think that's it. I don't remember the last one. Might have been Aqua Jet. And then Manectric was Thunderbolt, Volt Switch, HP Ice, and Toxic. So pretty generic team. Nothing too out of whack other than Endeavor's Scolipede. But it worked out well against his team, especially because he didn't have any Dark Resist besides Diancie. So having Flash Cannon was going to be really nice. And I just think Hydreigon had a good matchup here overall. Toxic Spikes worked really well against his team. Not as well for the team that he brought. They were mostly for Cofagrigus as well, but it's whatever. Toxic Spikes are still going to be very useful. And then, you know, things like rocks and stuff like that. So, yeah. I end up leaning Manectric in this matchup, and this turn 1 is actually really important because I go for the Volt Switch, and it shows me that this Torkoal is specially defensive, even though it doesn't really look like a bulky Torkoal. Torkoal's special defense isn't that great, so this actually shows to me that this is especially defensive. But I go into my Hydreigon expecting him to set up rocks, and I am just able to go for a Defog here. Now, I could have just stayed in and Dark Pulsed and scouted for damage, but I didn't really want Hydreigon to gain Toxic or anything. He actually just goes Diancie, so it works out pretty well for me since I can just Volt Switch and get momentum here. He goes in Cresselia, bulky, fat, disgusting Cresselia, and I can go for a Toxic Spikes. Now, the reason I went for Toxic Spikes and not Mega Horn is because I genuinely expected him to go into Celesteela, because that's like a reasonable switch in. So I was like, why didn't you go into Celesteela? That seems like a very reasonable switch in for a Scolipede. But he just stays in and Psyshocked, and I was like, Jesus Christ, okay. So I just go for a Mega Horn here, and it becomes evident as to why he did not switch out. It's because he was Tangaberry, wanted to get the damage off of my Scolipede, is what it is. So I'm down here 6-5, and obviously you gotta remember my plan going in here was like, hey, we gotta like get high differential wins and things like that. So let's try and do that, but I'm already down 6-5, so I'm thinking to myself, fuck the differential, I just need to fucking win this game. I cannot go 0-2. Like, I have to win this game if I want to make brackets. So that's priority number 1, win. So right into my Hydreigon, gonna put on immediate pressure. If he goes in Diancie, he's gonna get poisoned, so I know that he doesn't want to go Diancie. So I go in Dark Pulse as he goes Celesteela. Celesteela is only gonna be able to get a Toxic off during this time, and that is a trade I'm 100% willing to take. I will happily let him sack Celesteela in exchange for Hydreigon getting poisoned. So I'm gonna go into my Metagross here. Hope he doesn't Earth Power, which he doesn't. And he's probably scared of a Bullet Punch here, so he definitely switches, and I predict him to switch, and I go for the Meteor Mash. Not that I would have made any other play, because I didn't have Bullet Punch. And then I go for a Thunder Punch. And this is a little bit unfortunate, because I get an absolute min roll on Thunder Punch. It would have killed, I believe, 14 out of 16 times, so I do get a min roll, and this really sucks, because he's going to be able to Rapid Spin the Toxic Spike, which means that Miltank and Zygarde are not going to get poisoned. So we'll see, but it is really frustrating, especially since Zygarde can just come in here and not a good time. So he goes for 1,000 arrows here. which it crits me, and I'm like, fuck, and then also smacks me down, which I'm also like, fuck, and then I go for Will-O-Wisp, and he has a Lump Berry, and I'm like, shit. So Talonflame has proved to be utterly useless in this game. I thought it would be really good at shutting down some of his bulk, but it just didn't work. He reveals also to have Earthquake, but a Specs Moonblast is going to easily take it out, and he has to go Diancie here unless something else wants to take that damage. So he does Moonblast and take me out. I'm able to go into Metagross, and he goes into his Miltank. I Meteor Mash and realize that he's Rocky Helmet. I don't really know what I'm going to do at this point, but I do go for a Toxic just to sort of play the end game in a situation where, you know, this thing can't just continuously heal up against me. It's going to take Residual Chip. I, you know, set up Stealth Rock, so that takes Residual Chip because I know he's not going to go into his Diancie. He goes into Cresselia as I go into Hydreigon, predicting that, and I go for Dark Pulse on Diancie, on his Diancie switch in. It does a ton because I'm Black Classes, and Metagross is not going to care about a Moonblast. So thankfully we do take Diancie out, which is going to clear the way for Hydreigon to be great in an end game here. So the reason I don't go and preserve differential by going into Hydreigon is precisely for that reason. He reveals Moonblast and doesn't actually kill me, which is very cool. So I'm able to get a Toxic off, which is going to put me basically in a winning position because he can't outstall my Dark Pulses, and that chip is going to make it so Dark Pulse kills. And on top of that, Miltank in no way will be able to take these Dark Pulses. I don't think any move would have killed Hydreigon at this point, so I definitely was just able to go for Dark Pulse and clean up the 2-0 win against GreninjaPlayz. So great game. We are now 1-1 plus 0, which means that this last game's got to be high differential if I want to seed anywhere decent on the bracket. So yeah, that's the goal. And the thing about my opponent for week 3 is that his team is strikingly similar to GreninjaPlayz. It had both Celesteela and Zygarde, and Mega Diancie, all 3 of those. So I needed to make sure I put myself in a position where I wasn't blowing all of my tech in this game on the last game. So I'm going to show you what that stuff was. So you can see a pretty similar team. I think the only change is I didn't bring Metagross this one. I brought Serena instead, which makes sense because Serena's pretty good against Zygarde. But anyway, yeah, so I brought Serena this game, and I'll explain what it is in a second. But this was a really, really great game to prep for. It was like really fun to prep for, basically because I think that his draft wasn't that great is the first thing. My opponent, Odds, I should say. I don't think his draft was that great. It was really slow. His fastest mon was Mega Diancie. And then it was also one of those drafts that just spent all the points on the 6 mons and then just spent the last 2 points on Little Cup mons. So his other 2 mons that he didn't bring, besides the ones that you see here, are Cutiefly and Slowpoke. So I was like, fuck, I don't need to prep for either of those. I'll just prep for these 6 and just go ham. Other thing is that Taunt just goes off on his team. Taunt and Spikes, because he didn't have any hazard clearing outside of Magic Bounce Diancie and Defog Cutiefly. So just Spike stacking was another thing that was going to work really, really well against him. So Taunt on Talonflame, I'll just go into it now. But it was a normal Manectric, Overheat, HP. I actually think it was Flamethrower, Thunderbolt, Volt Switch, HP Ice. Nidoking was Shookaberry to take a hit from Zygarde with Ice Beam, Fire Blast, and Dual Stab. Hit his entire team perfectly. Scolipede was the weirdest set ever. I wanted to bring this set against GreninjaPlayz, but I didn't want to blow the set against him, and I wanted to bring it for the game where I tried to get a bunch of high differential against Odds. So I decided to bring it this game, and I brought a Black Belt set. Not Expert Belt, Black Belt, because my only attacking move is Superpower. And then my other moves are Sub, Endeavor, and Spikes. So it's a Spike stacking, and then when Celesteela comes in, I could just Sub, Spikes, do all that stuff. So that was the goal. Primarina. Primarina is Substitute with Dual Stab and Psychic. It's basically there just so it can set up a Substitute in front of either a Leech Seed Celesteela or a U-turning Incineroar, but most importantly, Toxapex. And in a world in which he decided to bring Cutie Fly or Slowpoke for whatever reason, that would also be free sub setup. So that was great. Serena was another sub Endeavor set, which was very, very weird, but it was another sub Endeavor set because Tangrowth, and I needed it for Zygarde because it had Trop Kick and also had U-Turn, but Celesteela, Tangrowth, Toxapex, they all came in so easily on it. So I was like, let's just sub Endeavor that too. The great thing about sub Endeavor too is if I'm pairing it with Spike stacking, everything I sub Endeavor is not coming back in on spikes. So it's basically just feels like I'm taking 1-for-1 on Amon, which, you know, hurts him more than it hurts me, because if he loses, you know, either Tangrowth or Toxapex in the defensive core, or loses Celesteela, he starts losing switch-ins, and I don't think his offense is strong enough to carry him for the rest of the game. And then Talonflame was Taunt, Will-O-Wisp, Roost, and instead of Acrobatics, like I brought last time, I brought Z Steel Wing, because George brought a Taunt, Roost, Willow, Acrobatics set against Odds during this, and Odds just couldn't beat it. Like, there was no way for him to beat it. Because he either didn't bring Mega Diancie or just didn't switch it in for whatever reason. So I figured he'd like learn from his mistakes in that past game and bring in Mega Diancie against me, and I was going to punish that by going for Z Steel Wing and killing him. So yeah, let's go into the game. He leads Diancie, I lead Manectric. Fantastic lead matchup for me. Free Volt Switch because I know for a fact he's not going to go into Zygarde this early, and I'm able to go for a Discharge. That's right, I didn't have Thunderbolt, I had Discharge because I wanted to paralyze Mega Diancie if possible, or Incineroar, things like that. I went for a Hidden Power expecting Zygarde to actually come in, but he stays in and get paralyzed, which is a little bit unfortunate. But I go for a Volt Switch again, now seeing that he won't switch in Zygarde after seeing HP Ice. I go into Nidoking, I almost Fire Blast, but I don't. I Fire Blast the second turn, and it misses, which is quite unfortunate. But he goes for a Leech Seed, which is okay, but I do want to switch out because I just don't want to take more residual damage, and I assume he'll have Protect or something. I'm able to go for a Volt Switch again, knowing that he won't go into Zygarde, seeing I revealed HP Ice already. I'm going to go into Scolipede here, knowing that he's going to go into Celesteela, and I'm going to have my first layer of Spikes, which is really, really good. But I'm not going to sub Endeavor yet because I do have a free switch in with Manectric, but he does predict that very, very nicely and go for an Earthquake. Fortunately, I'm able to just Volt Switch again, keep up momentum, which is really, really nice. And it's going to allow me to get a second layer of Spikes up. Now, he does something crazy that I didn't expect and knocks off. And he gets rid of my Black Belt. I'm sure he was thinking, what the fuck, Black Belt? But I'm able to get my third layer of Spikes up since his Diancie is not Mega'd yet. Works out perfectly for me. Now, unfortunately, this knockoff roll is going to mean that I don't get put in an ideal situation for Sub Endeavor. I'm not able to go to 1 HP, but I'm on 22%. Nonetheless, it's still going to do a pretty hefty chunk to Celesteela, and it's totally worth it. There's nothing that he necessarily wants to switch in. He probably could have gone Toxapex, but he didn't. And I realized after this Leech Seed that he's actually putting me in a situation where I can just Endeavor again later on. So I'm able to switch out into Usain. I decided to preserve the Scolipede because I think that Endeavoring with that 9% is going to be really, really nice. I'm able to go into my Manectric and Volt Switch out on the Tangrowth switch, which is going to put me in a great position because nothing on his team wants to switch into Nidoking. So that works out really, really nice for me because I have now broken one of the Mons in his hefty defensive core between Incineroar, Toxapex, and Tangrowth. Celesteela is broken down very, very nicely. Toxapex is really low at 35%. I start to think the only thing he can logically go into is Zygarde, which is fantastic because he is because I am Sugar Berry. So I take this 1,000 Arrows very, very well, but he decides to substitute, and here it shows that I stay in an Ice Beam. He just stays in 1,000 Arrows again, but as you can see, I am Sugar Berry. Even if I wasn't Sugar Berry, I would have lived that, actually, believe it or not. So yeah, it ends up working out well, but I do have to sack my Nidoking here. I guess hypothetically I could have gone into anything else, but I just didn't want to risk it. I didn't want to put myself in a bad position, especially when I see here that Primarina actually looks like he can just clean this game up. Like, there's nothing that switches into Primarina, and there's nothing that can one-shot Primarina either, and Primarina is just literally, like, one-shotting everything. Now, this Leech Seed miss is a little unfortunate, but I do think I could have just switched out and came back in again and still preserve the 5-0, so it works out okay. Scald ends up finishing the job in the end, He does go into Incineroar. I believe I outspeed it. No, I don't outspeed it, but he goes for Thunder Punch. I have enough bulk to take that Thunder Punch, and I do kill with the Scald. And then he goes into Diancie. I do have a lot of HP on Primarina. Primarina is very specially defensive. I'm able to take the Moonblast and get a 5-0 win, and that is exactly what I needed. It's exactly what I personally needed, and I'm over the moon. So I end up taking second place in the pod. George ended up winning all of his games, my first game opponent. That being said, 2-1 plus 5 is still excellent, because there's a lot of first place finishers in the 16 pods that there were that ended up going 2-1 because other people ended up losing games too. So it's a 32 person bracket. We did make the bracket, and we actually ended up getting 16th seed. So actually one of the best 2-1 positions. Best 2-1 positions that there were. So I'll take it. So there's a few good things about this and a few bad things. The good thing about it is that our first round opponent isn't going to be a super high seed. In fact, we're technically in the top half of the bracket still. We're not going to face the top seed. We're not going to face the second seed, all those things. Which is great. Super awesome. We're facing the 17th seed, which is cool. Someone who finished with the exact same record as we did. The unfortunate part about it is it means that if we win that game, the 16 versus 17 game, we have to face the number 1 seed in the bracket. So a little bit of a double-edged sword, but my goal was to make brackets going into this, and I did that. And I think I have a good chance to, I don't know if I'll win this thing, but I think I have a good chance to, go as far as I can and just push myself to see how well I can do. And yeah, I was happy when I made brackets. After losing that game 1, I was scared that I wouldn't make brackets in the first place. There's a lot of fantastic players I saw who didn't make brackets, so I'm already really, really appreciative of that. So yeah. 16th seed, made brackets, super cool, and I will come back and show the bracket games in the next showcase of the NCP, but for now, that's about it. Hope you enjoyed, and yeah.